Hi, I'm Alicia. Thank you for joining us today. And before you take this journey with us, I just want to say this is a podcast, okay? This is not a therapy session. Yes, we talk about real and sometimes heavy stuff, so consider this your trigger warning. And I'm a licensed therapist, but nothing here is medical advice or a substitute for professional mental health care. Because remember, we're just like talking to comedians. Anyway, welcome to Xanyland. This is Tommy Brennan. He was our host for a little bit when we were doing this fun little, what do we call it? Like a fun comedy night, Blue Mondays in Los Feliz at a great space at the Covell, Bar Covell. But you're doing a way more amazing things since then. You have what? A podcast?
I got a podcast, Roommates in Law. I had a Comedy Central set just come out that you can check out on YouTube.
Stop it.
I got a Don't Tell thing coming out in the fall. Don't Tell Comedy, another like YouTube special, and some other stuff. I got a travel show we just shot a pilot for. We got some fun stuff cooking up.
That's really rad.
Yeah.
This is Xanyland, and we are a mental health podcast that talks to therapists. What do I say?
Welcome to the Xanyland podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, a licensed therapist. And we're hanging out with comedians because who else is going to be honest about being crazy?
Let's talk about my outfit.
Let's talk about your outfit today.
Listen, I'm in the swells of moving out of my apartment. And,
I actually was like, I want this outfit. Like, it looks like an outfit for me, don't you think? Where'd you get that sweatshirt?
At a vintage shop in Madison, Wisconsin.
Fuck me, I can't get it.
And here's the thing. I almost bought it, and then I took a picture of it. I sent it to my sisters, and they didn't respond. And I was like, I'm skipping it. And then I was on the phone with one of them like an hour later, and she was like, by the way, that sweatshirt rules. You should buy it. And I was walking right by the store again. So I went back and bought it, and I have received nothing but insults about it since I got it. And
no, I'm obsessed. I mean, it does look
it's
like
very
my
much
aunt.
Grandma's couch.
Yeah. My old auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aunt Alice.
But it's kind of fun.
I was actually wondering if you were going to come in your, like, outfit.
Full stage, jeans, white tee, and a jacket.
Yeah. Can we talk about it a little bit? Like, psychologically?
Yeah.
Since this is a mental health
Yeah.
do you have to go to therapy for, like, that? You know what I mean? Like, you have to dress down every day, and you like have to like talk about that. Like, I'm hot, but I can't let them know how hot I am on my set.
I think I look good on stage.
You do,
but it is a little schlubby, or it's a little like this guy doesn't have money, you know. The way I dress, no one is like, man, he's doing great. But like,
do you have money, and are you like fooling us?
I'm doing fine.
Oh, good.
I don't have like money.
You feel like at least so it's like 20,000 less than you make a year. Is that outfit vibe?
Yeah, 20,000 less than I make in a year would be about $0. But I think with the why I wear like the same variation, just for listeners, on stage I wear jeans, usually a white tee and a jacket of some sort, and it's usually like a vintage jacket. I have probably 35 jackets now.
Wow.
And
I love that it's a vintage jacket.
Yeah, it's always got to be vintage. But it's like a Steve Jobs thing where it's like I don't want to have to think about it.
Okay.
So I just know like this is the go-to. Yeah. And then the only decision I make is the jacket, and then that's like easy.
Did you make that decision because of Steve Jobs, or did you make that decision and then afterwards go, I'm like Steve Jobs?
Yeah, well, I made the decision, and then I was like, I got a great idea for phones. No, I made the decision, and then I was like, oh, I see the utility in like not choosing. Steve Jobs did this, right? I'm quoting the right person, right?
He did. Okay. It was Steve Jobs, yeah.
Zuckerberg does it too, right?
I think so.
I think he wears like the same tee and jeans every day or whatever. But my friend in Chicago, who's like, his name's Tucker Brookshire, he's a New York comic now. He's like a fashionista, and he just one day he like sent me this jacket and was like, "This has got to be your look on stage." And so I bought it, and then I wore that jacket for like 6 months straight every night.
Okay.
And he was like, listen, I didn't mean you should wear it every night. And so you need a couple other looks. So I was like, I'm just going to get different jackets. I can't have like...
I can't be handling
I can't
this.
do the whole outfit again.
Again.
You know, we figured it out. So, yeah. So that's been...
I think
that's
it's
been 3
so
years running.
awesome that he has that much power. That he gave you this jacket and you were just like, that's it. I'm going to wear this jacket forever.
Well, yeah, because mentally, like you were saying earlier, it is a weird thing to have to worry about, like, what people's perception is of you the second you step on stage.
Yeah.
I was, like, way more, like, clean cut. I needed a different look than what I was giving off. And so that kind of solved that. And
I like the psychology behind, though, that you needed a different look than what you knew
you
were giving off. How did you know that the look that you were giving off wasn't the right vibe? And I'm asking this for myself as a therapist. I think, like, unfortunately, we don't think about that. And we really should, more than we do.
I was having much better sets on stage when I would immediately address that I looked like a rich kid, you know, corporate.
You were in sales, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I did sales for a while. I did sales and then like a talent relations job. But I worked for LinkedIn for 5 years.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Sounds amazing.
it was good. It was like
It was a good job.
you know, it was a great job. It gave me a little bit of a life crisis right away because I got out of college, I had a great job, and I was like, "Oh, this is it. Like this is the is this the rest of it?" And then that's when I started comedy. It was like I was like, you know, at every point growing up, you know, grade school you're just getting to high school you're just trying to get into a good college you're just trying to get a good job, and then you get the job, and then you're like, now what's the next like thing? And that really freaked me out because I had a good job with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't need to worry. Like, I didn't need to get a better job. You know?
You had this like existential
Big
thing
time.
that happens. That for my psychology listeners out there, it's like a big Jungian individuation thing, actually, where he says like there's this thing inside of you, there's yourself inside of you like pressing against you, going, now you need to really discover who you actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt like in a way it's like the first time you start actually making decisions for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that, or not like just for myself, but like not like what you're supposed to do.
100%. Did someone help you with that, or were you able to just navigate that yourself? Or
it was actually one of my best friends of all time, living in San Francisco, 3 people in a little 2-bedroom apartment, you know, roommate in the living room, that whole works. And I was just like, I don't know that I want to like just do this. And he was like, dude, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, we have to do something creative, all this stuff. And we ended up like, that started the conversation. And then he has since like written on a TV show.
Wow.
And stuff like that. And
but just that conversation, the fact that you sort of had an ally in it.
Yeah, I was like, hey, is it, you know, it felt good that I was like, is someone else feeling this?
Yeah,
like, is this crazy?
Yeah.
Because it's funny, like, you know, you have something good going, like that job, and you're like, I should be happy.
Yeah, of course.
But I wasn't.
What helped you be brave enough to like continue though, right? Because you have that idea. Most people have that idea at some point, and then they miss the opportunity. And that's another thing that we talk about in therapy a lot. Like, you didn't miss that opportunity. You took the chance, and then you kept pushing yourself. How did you do that?
I think just like doing comedy is so addicting. Like, so basically after that, a few months later, I had the opportunity to move with that job to Chicago.
Okay.
And I was like, when I get to Chicago, I'm doing comedy because that's the comedy town. And I was such a huge fan. And I was like I was a performer as a kid, so I like had that in me.
Okay.
And for some reason, like, I had decent insight. I was a big enough comedy fan. I knew that it like sucked when you started.
Okay.
Like, enough people had told me that, or I had heard that. So
you
I
knew
was
that,
just,
like, it sucked. You were probably gonna suck. Like, that was okay.
Yeah, like that. No one is just like a hit right away, you know. So I started in improv and sketch at Second City in Chicago, and that was a pretty easy foray into it. And I was just viewing it at that time as like, I can just do this while I have a job, and this maybe will scratch that itch. And then we had one show, and we had one improv show where I did a whole like monologue by myself, basically just like stand up, and I got teed up to play this character. It was like a misogynistic gynecologist, and it was like such a fun thing that I just went with for like 15 minutes, and or it was probably, looking back, it was probably like 45 seconds, but in my head it was like this big thing. And then after like that night, I was like, I remember telling my roommate at the time, I was like, hey, I'm gonna dedicate like some serious time to this and figure out if I can do it. And then I just lucked out with some friends that like were a couple years ahead of me in it, that would all tell me like, this part sucks, you just have to keep doing it. Like I think that's the main secret to that question is like, you know, what gave you the bravery or whatever. It's like, I don't know, enough people told me that like it is supposed to be bad. I don't know that enough people tell new comics that anymore.
No.
Because I have a lot of new comics that talk to me about like the rough stages and stuff, and I'm always just a little bit surprised, like, yeah, it's like this part is rough.
To suck, yeah.
Like the first time you go out on the road, it's never gonna be fun. You can't sell any tickets. Like you just have to go through that and learn how to deal with it. And I got lucky. I had enough people tell me that stuff.
That's really cool. Did you ever need any mental health help along the way?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I've been with the same therapist for almost 6 years now.
That's awesome.
And I started going because, well, it's funny. I was like a big advocate for therapy before I started going to therapy.
Really?
And that's why I started going.
That's
like,
wild too.
Well, because I had like a couple friends and siblings who had found like just massive success with therapy. So I was a big fan of it, but I also had never been. So I would be like recommending therapy to people without having ever gone.
I love it.
Yeah. And then the company I was working for, LinkedIn, had like 8 free sessions or whatever. You know, they would, they pay for.
That's the company I work for. The company that gave the free sessions.
Oh, yeah. What's it called again? Lyra. Yeah. Yes. That is exactly what it was.
That's great. Was that your first time in therapy? Was through the Lyra program?
So I went to one guy who I did not enjoy. I did one session and then I didn't go again for about 8 months. And because they like randomly pair, or not randomly pair you.
They
but
do.
Like,
they give you that little list.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's really hard to be like, this is the guy that I'm going to trust based off of just like a picture and some reviews.
I think this is a really important part actually for people, because this happens all the time where you go to someone and then it feels wrong and then you don't go back.
Right. And then you're like, do I not like therapy or did I not like that guy?
You didn't like that fucking guy, yeah.
And I knew enough about therapy, and like, again, one of my best friends was like it saved his life. So then I was like, all right, I know there's more to this. So I just like tried it again, like, you know, 6-8 months later or something, and got matched with dear Cheryl, and we've been together ever since.
Her name is Cheryl?
Yeah, her name's Cheryl.
We talked about this in another podcast. I love when people actually share who their therapist is, because I think it's part of the stigma that people think that they like can't share who their therapist is, and that continues that like vibe of it being hidden.
Yeah, behind closed doors, that thing.
It's fucking weird. And then all these coaches are like, you know, standing there with their like famous client, and then no one ever talks about who we are, but we're just real people out there helping you like say our fucking name.
Yeah.
So dear Cheryl who? What's her name?
Cheryl Metzler.
We love her.
She's amazing. She's kind of like a stereotypical therapist. She's like,
I was going to ask you actually
hilarious.
Earlier when we were talking about perception and how people perceive you on stage, like, if we had our phones and I was over here and you were like, okay, show me what you think a therapist looks like.
Yeah.
What does she look like?
She's like mid-60s, like, you know, shoulder length hair, glasses.
Okay.
Just like, you know, cool, very understanding. I get a little defensive. I get extremely defensive, not a little bit defensive. Yeah. And so when I
wait, so dumb. what?
Yeah, I'm like, don't.
What do you mean? Are you okay with talking about this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like when someone is trying to lead me somewhere, I'm like, it's like subconsciously I fight that.
Oh.
So if someone offers me advice too early and I don't trust you yet, then I'm like, I'll go the other way.
Okay.
And
You'll actually do the opposite.
Yeah, or like that'll be like my desire.
Okay.
Like I'm good at clocking it now.
Okay.
And so like I don't actually act on it, but like where my instinct goes if someone like is trying to get me to do something is like the other way.
And now you can clock it and you can decide whether or not you actually want to do it.
Exactly.
That's a really cool thing to share too, because I think a lot of people think that therapy is a place that you go if you're just like fucked up. But actually it's a place to go to learn about yourself. And that's a really great thing to understand about yourself, that you have this instinct that doesn't always serve you.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with even like what people think of diagnosis or mental health. It's just a style.
Yeah. It's like some trust issues and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because that first guy I went to, right away he was like offering suggestions. And I was just like, I didn't think this is what therapy was, which it's not. But I mean, certain styles, I don't know, like, you know, what that training is like, but I know some people who need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I know some people who are like, oh, my therapist like yells at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I would run for the hills if that happened. So she's very good at like, she'll remember shit from 4.5 years ago that she will kind of subtly reintroduce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and she just gets me to say it. She's so good at getting me to say like, to reach like the right conclusions. And so I'm very appreciative of her.
She sounds like a master.
She's really, really good.
That elephant
and she's
brain
so
is so
sweet.
important.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, she really helped. Like, you know, when I didn't have health insurance that covered it anymore, so she like cut her rate down and did like sliding scale for me and stuff. And yeah, it was she saved my life for sure. Because what drove me to stay in it. Originally, I went because I was recommending it and felt like a poser. And then what drove me to stay in it was like when comedy started really taking over my life, and like I was making big life decisions based on the pursuit of stand-up comedy. And then that's when I started having a little bit of a crisis of like, am I ruining things? Like I left LinkedIn, went to a smaller company because it was more flexible. It was in the entertainment space.
Yep.
Just walked away from a potentially great career because of stand-up.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of stress.
That's what I was wondering when you were talking about this transition. Like, I think it's really hard for people to continue to blow up their life in a sense without that support and that insight, and to constantly look at how they're doing it and why they're doing it and have that.
Yeah, I have a pretty good support system.
That's great.
From my siblings mostly. My parents gave me a hard time for a while. I have no problems talking about this because I called them out on it for years, and they're on board now after I've had success, of course. They would just always be like,
so parental.
And they would be like, you know, when would you quit if it doesn't work out? You know, like trying to get like logical timelines, which is just not how to go about a creative pursuit. You can't be like, by 2025 I'm gonna have this or I'll quit. Like, that's just not how it works. And they had a hard time with that, which is so funny because my parents had 8 kids and they had 4 before my dad was done with med school. My mom's a stay-at-home mom. They think what I'm doing is crazy. That was way crazier than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
So it was hilarious that they thought this was risky.
That's parental though.
Yeah.
It's so strange. Even being a parent, it's so strange. You're like so
Do you have to
precious
fight that?
about everything. You have to fight it.
Because it's
I'm
the
not
same
great
thing.
at it
You
even.
clock it and then you have to like...
Yeah, you clock it. Yeah, you clock it, and then you work against it. But just knowing that there's this constant instinct about being parental, but then also knowing, my mom did the same stuff to me. Like I used to sing, I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
When I first told my mom I was going to audition just for choir, she was like, I didn't know you sang. I'm like, You're my mom. Like, what?
I didn't know you sang as
But
like
then-
in general.
But then I was like competing like against other kids in high school, and then like I was
Yeah.
going, like you actually do stuff like that. You like go out and compete against
Yeah.
other high schools and sing and blah blah. And then I eventually ended up having a band for a really long time. But it wasn't until I like won some award that she was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, my daughter sings. Like it takes a long time. So I can see it from that side. But then now that I'm a parent, yeah, you just like really need the gratification of the world to feel safe for your kid because you're so precious and protective of them.
Yeah.
And we have such a viewpoint of our kid that's so strong. We just like project onto them so hard. Like every parent does that. And and I don't think most people know that. Thank God I somewhat know that I'm projecting onto her.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom is guilty of that.
Yeah.
She's,
Yeah.
She's gotten better at recognizing it, I think.
How did she learn?
I think enough of us like
Going.
just kind of called her out
Okay.
on it. I think there's a certain amount of control you have to exercise when
Yeah.
you have 8 kids.
Yeah.
So my mom was like a army general when we were growing up.
Okay, that
it's
makes
like
sense.
it's like her way or the highway.
Yeah.
And then as you become adults, it's like you have to. She had to adjust like how you interact with those same people that you used to like run their whole lives. You don't
100%.
run their lives anymore, and you have to be
100%.
okay with that. And so
I imagine when you have
Yeah.
8 kids too, you like categorize them all so that they
For
all
sure.
have their distinction for you. But then you have to claw yourself out of that
yeah,
construct,
Mm-hmm.
right?
yeah, we get lumped together for sure. I'm one of the babies.
Yeah.
But I always got a little bit of special attention because I was the boy in the middle of all the girls. So it's one boy, and then it's 4 girls, and then me, and then 2 more girls.
Oh, wow.
So I got a little bit of like special attention, and I was like I acted a lot as a kid, and like I got
did
to
girly stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not actually girly stuff.
yeah. I was a musical theater kid. I was a choir kid.
Did you do musical theater?
Oh yeah.
No way. You
It's like
sing
it's
too.
like my life's passion. I think I would love to, if I was more talented, I would love to
You do like Broadway.
do that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My dream is to like become famous enough as a comedian that I can do like one of the cameo roles in a Broadway show.
Oh my God.
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like
yeah.
every once in a while people do. I really.
Would you want to sing too? You don't want to just like show up and be funny? You
Yeah,
wanna sing?
if it was like a comedic singing role.
Okay.
I can still sing a little bit, but not like, I mean,
These people are
you
nuts.
know, the understudy for the understudy of the understudy on a Broadway show is like the best singer you've ever heard.
I know.
So,
The amount of like power that can come out of their
Oh,
bodies,
yeah.
like out of their throat, is actually like mind blowing.
I am delusional enough that for a little while, because I like sang a little bit in college, and I joined 2 a cappella groups. One of the most embarrassing things about me my whole life. But I still was
I
like,
can actually see you in an a cappella
of
group.
course, yeah.
Like it's as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah, it
you
kinda
were in
checks
a-
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why Sarah Bareilles' harmonies are so good.
She was in an a cappella group, Sarah Bareilles.
That's her background.
Man, I think we did several Sarah Bareilles songs. That kind of makes sense. We for sure did
It
love
also
songs.
checks out.
Was Brave her? It was her, right? Yeah, I think we did Brave too. Yeah, I still was like a little bit like, I was like, maybe I could like, if I did comedy, maybe I could like pursue acting on the side, thinking like musical theater. And then this girl who was a year younger than me at our high school, who I thought was like the best singer I'd ever heard, she like tried to make it on Broadway and like was an understudy in the most off-Broadway version of, I think it was Rent. And I was like, damn, if she can't even break through, like that has got to be the hardest industry to get
It's
into.
so hard.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I think you make friends and you keep at it and you
Yeah, you just stick with
you
it.
stay in line. Yeah, you get there. I think all careers are really hard to break through, especially nowadays, honestly. Even this career. My career is so saturated now that,
Therapy?
yeah, in order for you to like really stand out as a therapist, I think you have to make podcasts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cheryl would never have a podcast.
No. When people think of like how you describe a therapist, like that's not how I envision a therapist at all. Like I
That's
envision
good.
them like a rock star. You know what I mean? Like if we had a picture over here, like my first therapist was that guy that dressed in all white and he had like long hair. And then I think of like Nicole Kidman in
Sounds
that
like a cult
show. He was like a cult leader.
Okay, great.
So is Nicole Kidman. She's kind of like a cult leader too. I guess cult leaders is how I think of a therapist. Sexy, charismatic, like a little like. When I picked my therapist in grad school, because you have to go to therapy as like it's like training therapy. Like you have to be in it while you're also learning how to do it. I remember she was like walking through the hallway and she like had this long scarf and she like flicked the scarf and she was just like walking in the hallway like this. And I was like, that's my therapist. Like that's my vibe.
Wow.
I wanted to be like her. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to
cool.
be that woman. But then, really fucked up story, I fell in love with her husband who was really old. I didn't know it was her husband.
Really old.
We didn't like have an affair or anything. He was just my professor. But I was smitten. Like he was old as dirt. But I just...
How old are we talking?
He was... I mean, I was much younger, and he was
So
probably
he
like in his
could have been
70s.
like 42.
No, he could have been 42. Because when you're young, you think like 40 is really old. But he was probably in his 70s.
Okay.
It wasn't like a it wasn't like a vagina turned on. It was like a entire like soul.
Yeah.
And I used to talk about him in therapy because I didn't know they
And
were
it was,
married.
oh my God.
And it was her husband. And
Were
I
you
would
naming this guy?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, I would go in and like talk about like how I
And
like
she didn't say
had
anything?
these feelings for a 70-year-old man, and he was my teacher. She never said anything.
Kind of insane that she didn't say something.
For eventually she did. And I like almost
that's
died.
mortifying.
I know. She wanted to explore it. And she didn't have a problem with it. Like, obviously she knew that I wasn't saying we were having an affair. I was saying,
Yeah, thank God.
I don't know what's happening. But he was also so loving and fatherly, and he was such a great professor. I think a lot of women have this experience actually with like professors. I mean, obviously that's why they sleep with them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But I also didn't have a dad. Like my dad left. So I think she
there we go.
knew that I was having this beautiful transference with him, and she wasn't taking it
As a threat.
But still, when I found out it was like her actual dude.
That's so funny. She's like, you start being like, yeah, I can't imagine what his bitch of a wife is like.
I'm sure I said that.
Yeah. That's so
But
awesome.
I think it's funny that I wanted to be like her, and then it was her husband that it's just so interesting. So I think that the way that I think of therapists is like,
cool.
yeah. Just
That's
like,
good. That
just
probably
like,
helps break the stigma from the other side.
I think it needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was...
I remember Kristen Bell did a sketch. Did you ever see it? With her therapist that she was in love with. And it's this gorgeous black woman.
No, was it like an SNL sketch?
I think she just did it on her own. I'll find it. I'll
Nice.
send it to you. It's
Oh,
pretty
cool.
funny. But I love that because it's like, that's how I think
Kristen
of...
Bell. I was thinking
Kristen Bell.
Wiig.
I was thinking of like how like idealization
Yeah.
of this person that's like an object to you because they're not really in your life.
Yeah, it is a weird... Yeah, that is interesting.
She's not in your life.
Cheryl's the longest relationship I've ever had, and it is still like somewhat impersonal.
Yeah.
You know, even though she knows everything about me.
Yeah.
It is like a separate thing. It's just like over here. Like when I'm in Chicago, that's where she is. Like we just do Zoom.
Yeah.
When I'm in Chicago, like it's not like I'm like, oh, I got to invite Cheryl to my show.
Yeah.
You know? She almost came last time I headlined in Chicago.
She did?
She almost did.
Do you want her to come?
I think I would. I actually wouldn't mind if she came. Because I tell her everything about stand-up anyways and like how things are going and stuff. Like there's nothing I would be. And I don't really talk about therapy on stage. But I think I would want to know that she was there. Or... No, actually, I wouldn't want to know.
I would not want to know.
I would want her to come say hi to me afterwards. I would probably cry if she just like showed up.
Oh, you would cry?
Probably.
Because you love this person.
I love her to death, yeah.
I know. You fall in love with your therapist in this really special way.
Yeah.
I think that's so important to talk about. Because
Yeah.
I think people don't know that. And that part of the relationship is how the juice happens. Like how you can actually heal. Is from that love and that relationship. It isn't really from the style. You know, you were talking about the style. The style has to fit you. I think people over obsess about whether it's behavioral or psychodynamic or all these things, but it's really...
I feel like it's just trust.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, she just whatever her style is, it allowed me to like open up right away and trust her. And we started in person, and then we went to Zoom.
Yeah, that's actually
So,
nice.
yeah, that was
That
great.
doesn't happen anymore.
In person,
Not
at
as
all.
much. No, it
Yeah.
does, but it's
Okay.
really rare.
Yeah, it's. I don't think I would have stuck with it if I started over Zoom. I needed the uncomfortability of like sitting in her office and being like, "This is time to let loose."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I started with mine in person too.
yeah,
I've been with her for a really long time as well.
yeah.
Yeah. It's post-COVID that it's mostly all Zoom now. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when we went to Zoom.
Zoom. Okay.
And I stopped because I thought, I mean, this is, right at the start of COVID, I thought it was going to be 2 months and then we were going to be back in person and stuff. So we did one session over Zoom and I was like, I'm just not, that didn't feel great. And so we just stopped. And then like 6 months into the pandemic, I was like, hey, I gotta talk about some stuff. So let's give this Zoom thing another thing. And then it was just like being intentional about being like, all right, 10 minutes before, phone's going on, do not disturb. I try to actually block off 30 minutes and take a
Who
walk.
are you, dude? I try to tell all my clients we need to tell them this. Tell them it again.
You can't go straight from like, because I did it a few times,
is so
especially
good.
when I had a job and I was working remote. I would have it on my calendar like as a meeting basically. And so sometimes I'd be getting out of another meeting at like 9:58 and at 10 o'clock I'm starting therapy. I'm getting on therapy like in the weirdest like work mindset, not thinking about what I want to talk about at all. And it was fine. We would get there, but it would then that first 15 minutes is the time that I should have taken beforehand.
Yeah.
So now on my calendar, if I have Cheryl on my calendar, the 30 minutes before is prep. And then I try to do a walk.
This is like, you're like a therapist dream come true.
Cheryl
Cheryl
changed
is
my
so
life.
lucky to have you.
I'm vice versa.
So I agree. Like, you want to unwind. You want to like sage and like light your candle and get your tea and be in your space and be intentional. And then maybe even afterwards, if you can give yourself some time to process. If you're a journaler, you can journal. If not, you can just like sit, have a snack, like, because there's a lot that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then even more so if you're doing something like EMDR, which you probably have never done, but that's like the buzzers in your hands. You want to have like time to let your brain take in everything that was rewired.
Yeah.
During that session. It's so valuable that way, and it makes like people complain about the money, but it makes the money so worth it. If you are really paying a lot for therapy, you want to like create
that's
that
the other
cocoon.
thing. You are paying for it. It's like do the work before just to and I'm not batting 100% on like on like having a great prep thing, but I try to like write down a couple things throughout the week. You know what's actually fucked up is I have the exact same prep. I don't know if it's fucked up, but it's just weird. I have the exact same prep for my weekly podcast as I do for therapy.
Wow.
Which is like I write stuff down in a notes app that pop up throughout the week that I'd like to talk about, and then I look at that and go for a walk, like either an hour or 30 minutes before. And then it's honestly a very similar process. And then afterwards, after therapy, I jot down a couple notes of things that were important, and after the podcast I have to write down notes of like what was good or what needs to be edited out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very similar.
That's a great structure. I think this podcast will be about how to do therapy.
Yeah.
Because this is actually like the best advice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And if I say it, it's like a parent saying it.
Right.
So for you to say it and to say it works for you, I think is really fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been amazing. I have no plans of stopping. I've taken like a couple breaks, but now it's like I need it. I go every other week.
I'd say to my clients all the time, till death do us part.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, I don't know when I would ever feel comfortable. I was talking to a friend and she was like, I switched therapists not because I was like unhappy with them, but just because I felt like I needed like a new, like I had a whole new batch of things I was working on and I just wanted to start over.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And that kind of made me think that maybe I'll do that at some point.
You know what I've done is I've had extra therapy on top of mine.
Wow.
During certain times.
Yeah.
Like that I'm going through a certain thing, or if I want to try out a different style,
Okay.
I'll sort of add a coach or a therapist on top, but she's always a constant. Like she's like my like baseline therapy that I'll always have.
Yeah.
And she really has like grown me and made me a stable person, and I wouldn't be married if it wasn't for her. Like there's so much I owe to her. But then like I'm dealing with a crisis or something, and then I'll bring in someone else, or do like I recently did an EMDR that I was talking about before. I did an EMDR intensive with a woman, so like a whole weekend of like intensive therapy
Nice.
for a specific situation that happened.
Yeah.
But I just keep
Your
mine is
baseline.
Christina.
Yeah. Hell yeah, Christina.
Christina. She dresses cute.
Do you need that like kind of cool therapist?
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Like that came out over time, but it was like even more clear during this conversation that I choose that I want someone that, you know, I kind of want to grow into.
Yeah.
That they're not just like helping me, but they're a hero at the same time.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, especially when you're in their field too. I
think that happened too. But it was happening before.
Okay.
Yeah, and my first therapist, the guy that looked like the cult leader, after working with him for a little bit, that's how I realized I wanted to be a therapist. I was like, I was in my band at the time. I was like, I want to be like you.
That's cool.
When you were talking about your therapist coming to your show, I started to get super anxious. Like I had a wave of anxiety in me.
Okay.
And I think it's because I'm a therapist. So to imagine going to like my client's show
Yeah.
is overwhelming for me. And I don't know if you know, but I work with a lot of celebrities. Did you know that? I try to like not watch their shows.
Yeah.
I try to stay away as much as I can. It's hard because they're a lot of the time they're like really in the limelight.
Yeah.
But I try to stay away because I really just want to be with them as a person and not have the culture influence me to think of them differently, or to not have their art or lack of talent or whatever it be
influence your perception
and
of
make me
them?
judgmental.
Yeah, I guess that would be, especially, I don't know, I guess maybe I was thinking like stand-up is okay because it is me, you know, it's like if I was like,
but Cheryl can also be a different person. Like Cheryl could maybe
Yeah,
handle
true.
that.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, she chose not to.
She did.
So maybe she is thinking that. But like part of me almost wanted her to see it because I'm like, it would give you more context
Oh yeah.
to the things I talk about. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's like not important. Maybe all she needs is like how I'm perceiving this stuff. But like, yeah, part of me was like, I kind of wish you had seen, you know, of course, like it was like back in, if I go back to Chicago, it's like a fun, you know, like homecoming show. It'd be like a great show. So it's like, that's a fun one for her to see. Like, that's why I have let this ruin the rest of my life. You know, it's like this. I would like you to see how
That's
amazing
beautiful.
that is. You know,
I think actually maybe after a long period of time, you know, you're so comfortable in this relationship,
yeah,
then you could sort of go outside and see this. I'm just thinking like, especially when I first start with them,
yeah,
if I can't, sometimes I've already
You already
witnessed
know
them
who
and
they
I already
are,
know.
yeah.
And the hardest part about my career in this way is that I'll be at dinner and friends are talking about this person
Oh, God.
because they're so in the media.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, that happened?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I'm just having this like inner,
You're like, I know what they're freaking out about right now.
yeah, it's so crazy. So I can't really avoid it. And I honestly need my own therapy for dealing with that. But
Of course.
But I try as hard as I can to just like let them be a human.
Yeah, I mean, that would be tough if you like watched a show that they just sucked in, and then you're like, now I gotta help you.
But yeah, what if Cheryl like fantasizes though that you're a bad comic, and then you ruin that for her?
Sometimes she probably has thought I'm a bad comic. I've told her some really dark stories from the road, for sure. I don't know. I also like, I don't know if Cheryl came out and I knew she was there and I bombed, I would find a new therapist, I think.
Okay, then don't let her go.
I'd be like, no, I can't look you in the eye.
Okay, why would that happen?
Yeah.
This is good. Why would that happen? Because what would happen? Like if you bombed, what would that mean? Like you let her down?
It would probably be very important for us, honestly, and I wouldn't actually find a new therapist, but I would want to. I just hate.
It would be
I
so
hate talking to
important.
anyone after I bomb, and then like.
Do you bomb?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take some swings that don't go well. I had kind of like an earth-shattering bomb in New York like a month ago that was really important, but it hurt me for like 2 weeks.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's like a cool show in New York. It's like a real comic kind of show. It's like a backroom show that's been running for probably 15 years or something like that. And it's always a really great lineup. It's all these, huge comics come drop in. And it's one of those shows where there's like, doesn't matter how many audience members there are, there's always like a million comedians standing in the back of the room.
Okay.
So it's a real cool kids club. It's a chance to like get up and show like all your peers who you are in a way that doesn't happen a ton, especially at New York comedy clubs. They're all so small. There's not a lot of places for other comics to just hang out and watch.
Okay.
So like it's one of those rooms where you're like, I'm showing people what I have right now.
Okay.
And I've had some really fun shows
Where
there.
is this?
It's in Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's called Comedians You Should Know.
Okay.
And it's a great show. And I have had a couple fun ones there. And then I was there, I don't know, like a month ago. And I just was in this anxious mindset of like, I don't want to do my act because all these comedians you have this like idea that like they've seen the act before. So like, don't just play the hits. Like they're going to be like, oh, he's not working on anything new, But in reality, it's like, even if they have seen it, they don't remember. Like it's incredibly egotistical to be like, they know every word of my act. So why would I tell the same jokes again? So I went up and like tried to riff on the room and like took a couple swings and just missed. And then I tried to go back into the act and I just lost the room. And now I'm like truly bombing for the actual people that matter is the audience, not the comedians in the back of the room. The people who bought tickets were right here. I was throwing these riffs out there that made no sense to them. So they were like about the comics and stuff like that. And I lost them and then I lost the comics and then it truly like bombed for 15 minutes and found a way off stage, like got a little bit of a laugh and said, I'll see you later. And it shook me, but it was like, it kind of knocked the rust off a little bit. It made me like, I really had to be like, why did I do that? It was like self-sabotage in a way.
Cheryl has done such a good job on him.
Yeah, I talked about it the next day.
Yeah, the fact that he can go, and it was important, was the first operative word that I clocked.
Yeah.
And then this bomb, and then that he said it actually like rubbed the rust off.
Shook the rust off.
Shook the rust off of him is such an important way. Like that's such a reframe.
Yeah.
Like an incredibly important reframe.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like you let yourself be feeling shitty for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that kind of thing will stick with you.
Yeah.
You think it's such a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, all those comedians
Everything
don't
seems
respect
like it's a
me
bigger
now.
deal than it is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like now I laugh about it, but it took a second. It was like, yeah, it was bad.
Okay, I'm so obsessed with Cheryl's technique. So what is Cheryl's technique and do you know how to do it?
Honestly, I don't know what it is.
Like if I was like, I have a problem, could you do Cheryl's technique on me?
It's just always getting you to talk. Like she's just like so good at just like, why do you think that is? Like, well, tell me more about that. Like it's just, that's all she throws out there, and
you're just eating that up.
I love talking, so I'll just keep going.
Or whatever
yeah.
the kids say.
And then she'll every once in a while she will say, well, I think you told me, in the fall that show's really important to you, right? So do you think basically leading me to say, this is about that show, leading me to say like, yeah, I put too much weight on it and it's, I've put this show on a pedestal for years and all this stuff. she knew when I like headlined Zany's Comedy Club in Chicago for the first time. I remember she specifically brought up that one of the first sessions we ever had, I was telling her about how I was just trying to get a host spot at Zany's, and then if I could get there, that would feel validating enough to keep doing comedy and stuff. And then I was headlining it like 4 years later, and like bringing that up is like, you know, the way she framed it, I don't remember what she said, but it was like it was a good way for me to remember that like the mountaintop is never the mountaintop, like at every stage, because I felt weird about it. When I headlined there, it like sold out, and then the next day I was like, what's next? Like this, I didn't feel as fulfilled as I thought I would.
Yeah.
And then she compared it to like when I thought hosting there was going to be the most validating thing. Beautiful. And it was like, she's so good at just like connecting these small things that like they are in there. Like that train track is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
That I've always been putting this certain spot on a pedestal. And she's very good at getting me to.
But the fact that she puts those together, then she blows up that paradigm.
Yeah.
Every time she's able to make those connections for you. Mm-hmm. And that sort of loosens up how you, like the compulsion that you have in the world, or like any obsessions that you have, or like any like.
Yeah, and just like, I guess boiling what you just said earlier, like nothing's as big of a deal as you think it is. No. And as soon as you're like, oh yeah, this is the same feeling as that other thing that I had that I got past.
Yeah.
Then it's fun. We've dealt with this before. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she's good at doing that.
She's really good.
At like, just recognizing something I'm struggling with and being like, isn't this the same? I'm struggling with leaving LA right now.
Yeah.
And when I left Chicago, she's drawing a lot of parallels to that too, which is like, you know, has been really helpful.
Good listening is like.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
She's really good at it. I guess that's the technique, is like, she's just an incredible listener. And I don't even ever see her taking notes. So I
don't take notes either.
She must just be great afterwards at like recalling, because the shit she pulls up is crazy.
I think though, because I don't take notes and I just listen as well in therapy, and I actually have a lot of those same experiences where I can just recall stuff. And I'm not trying to. Yeah. I'm not trying to be like this amazing therapist who remembers. It just is there.
Yeah.
But what it reminds me is how little we're doing great listening in life.
I know.
And how terrible everyone is, at great listening.
I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, how I notice like everyone is so bullshit at listening. I'm actually a bit frustrated about it often because I listen for a living. Right. And I'll go to dinner and I feel like I want to be able to share with you, but I can tell that you're even trying to listen. Not you.
Yeah.
There.
No, yeah.
That asshole I'm out to dinner with is trying to listen, and they don't know how, and they can't. But if you listen, you remember.
Yeah.
It's like done. Yeah. Like it's like a thing.
Yeah.
When I know it's a thing.
When I try to listen, I'm like, now I'm thinking about trying to listen.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like thinking about listening, and I'm not listening. I'm like, listen harder.
We need to all be more like Cheryl.
I don't know how to do it.
Do you want to be a better listener? Like, is that a thing or no?
Yeah, I would like to be. You know what sucks is like, I think I am at times, like, you know, on stage. I remember everything any audience member has ever said to me on stage. I remember like every podcast I've ever done. When I feel like I'm performing, I'm a very good listener because it's like important.
Yeah, I mean, you just approved basically what I said, because I've never thought about that before either. Like, I'm not trying to listen and trying to remember. Yeah, I'm just listening.
Because it's your job.
So, because it's my job. And so I will bring up stuff from and they'll go, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that. And all that happened was I listened. Yeah. And so now you're saying on stage, you're listening incredibly well, so you don't forget.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, just like someone saying, I can't believe you remember that. It's, you know, let's say something happens 3 minutes into your set with an audience member, this guy who, you know, sells used cars. Then at minute 18, if you bring it back and call out the Sam who sells used cars again, people go crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he remembered that, you know? And it's the same thing.
It's such a gift, though. Yeah. They love it so much because being listened to is probably everything.
Yeah. It feels
being
good.
seen and being
Yeah.
heard was what drives all of us. Mm-hmm. And so for someone to actually
talking
do
to a
it,
microphone every night. Yeah. All I want to do is be seen and heard.
why do you think that is true? Why do you feel like you had such a strong, deep need to be seen and heard that it led you down this path?
Big family, for
Yeah.
sure.
Being the middle boy.
Yeah. And getting attention when I was a kid. Like, it is a weird mix of, like, when you're in a big family, you can be ignored, but also I got more attention probably than the sisters around me. I also was like I said, like, I started, like, doing acting when I was 8.
Yeah.
And got, like, a couple things, like, nothing big, but, like, commercials and stuff. So then it was like, and I was like, the first thing I ever acted in, I was the lead in a musical as an 8-year-old. And it was like a comedic musical. And that kind of shit will, like, that's like, I mean, it's like giving a kid heroin. Yeah, or crack.
I started
like,
acting at 8 too.
Yeah, and it's like,
crack.
you know, you get that thing and then you get a little attention, then now you get to skip school to go be in the big community
God,
theater
everyone
show.
talks about you.
Yeah, and now, oh my gosh, now the school is taking a trip to come see you because you're starring in this thing. Now, you know, whatever. It's like that all, I loved that.
Yeah.
And I got a little special attention from my family for it. And then I let it go in college. And but it was always performing, like, I really missed. That's why I did a cappella in college. But then I thought, like, you know, real world, then I just let it all go. And then I was like, no, I need to perform for
You know
sure.
what? I always think that I need to perform because it's like a soul thing or whatever, but I think you're right. I think it's just as a kid I got crack and now I live for that.
Yeah.
That is my favorite thing ever.
And I have it in me, you know, we had it in us then at 8 to want to perform.
Yeah.
So there is something inherent, but, like, a lot of people might have that, but they didn't get given a little taste. Ugh. And then once you have that, and yeah, I mean, it's that comboed with, like, in a family of 10 people, you are always kind of fighting for attention. So that's probably why I loved it then. Was, you know, I got a little special.
And you were already special because you were the boy. So there's all this messaging.
Little highlight on me anyways.
Yeah.
Or spotlight on me anyways, yeah.
It's been so nice to have you.
This has been fun.
Right?
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you came.
Yeah.
Also-
shout out to Cheryl.
When you're over this outfit.
You can have it.
Can
you
I
want
have it?
You just want this. I assume you don't want the shorts.
I like the short vibe too, but I can get my own new
Yeah.
black.
Yeah. You can find some shorts.
How do you feel about me wearing another man's shorts?
Fuck it.
Here's the problem: is I'm all packed up, so I have one. I've been living out of one carry-on.
Oh yeah.
So I have like this. I have these.
You brought it today. Yeah, you're in my phone as Tommy Comedy Man.
I love that. A man is appreciated.
You appreciate it?
Yeah, because
Because you're so girly?
I could see it being boy. Well, yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm a little
No, I think of you as a
childish.
man.
Thank you.
I don't think of myself as that old. It's 11:11. Everybody stop. Okay. Did you take it in? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I made a wish.
That's what I did.
Okay, yeah.
Tommy Comic.
Wow,
Tommy Comic.
incredible.
I have Tommy Comedy Man. What do you have?
Tommy Two Tone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tommy Two Tone. What's that from?
I love that. He's was he an
the
artist?
artist.
Yeah.
But to be fair, when I met you, I was hammered and had the sound set up.
Right. Yeah. It's
I think
a
I
quick
was-
one. You're just like, Tommy Comic.
I don't even know how we met you or how we ended up having you be a
DM.
I
Tommy
think I
was-
DM'd you on
DM'd me.
Instagram 'cause
So
I loved your
crazy.
shit.
And it was like fateful because you were like, any chance you're gonna be in LA, and I was
were
like,
like
that's the
that.
day I moved there.
Wait.
Is the first show.
We were in your life the day you moved to LA.
I-
and we're in your life the day you're moving out of LA.
My car was still full of my stuff. I drove straight to your show.
Isn't your car full of your stuff right now?
Yeah. Well,
Seven?
it's
Seven?
it's
Isn't that,
yeah,
like,
it's
kinda
getting-
beautiful?
That is crazy. I didn't think
We're
about that.
like
That
bookending
is
your life
beautiful.
here.
Yeah.
Us, for no fucking apparent reason.
Wow, that is. Yeah, you did.
That's really special.
That's
Oddly
and you were just like a
Insane, really poetic.
kind of like, you were really, I feel like it was really when, and you probably did a lot of comedy before that.
No, but I was
feel
on
like
the
you
rise
broke
there.
out
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
So that's great. So we're best friends.
Yeah.
We started and ended his LA career.
Do you want a puppy for the ending?
Yes, come on.
Get over here.
Come on, a puppy!
Wow, you are tiny.
can come up
Hey,
too.
buddy. Hey.
Thank you for listening. Okay.
Hey.
Thank you for listening to us today. We know that you could have spent this time with a true crime podcast, but you care about mental health too, and that's balance. And we appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe, please, and give us 5 stars. And if you didn't like it, like most of my family, just lie. Remember, this wasn't medical advice, but an irreverent conversation about mental health. New episodes drop every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and everywhere else that we could manage to upload it. And hey, if you liked today's comedian, look them up and follow them. They are brave and they're talented. And if you have friends, good for you. That's a good sign. Now please go tell them about us.